Hey friends, so in today's video, I wanted to talk about different types of digital illustration tablets. You know, there's so many options out there that it could be overwhelming to try to figure out which one is right for you. So one of the first questions that you want to ask yourself is, what category do you fall into? Are you a hobbyist or are you a professional? And many of you might say, well, I'm neither, I'm a student. If you're a student, then I personally group you into the professional, because if you're a student, then to me what that means is that you're still aspiring to become a professional. So I think you're going to be looking for a lot of the same things. Now, somebody who's a hobbyist, it might be something more like, hey, I want to kind of draw. I want to get into drawing and painting, but I also want to be able to like watch movies and just kind of play games on a tablet as well. What should I get then? So I'm going to kind of cover just a couple of options, and hopefully that'll help you make a decision. So the first option that I want to talk about is a non-display tablet. And so what is a non-display tablet? It's basically in the name. It's a tablet that doesn't have a screen. So what that means is that you're going to draw down here, but then you're going to be looking up here. So you're actually drawing down like this, looking down at the tablet that doesn't have a screen on it, but then you're looking up at the computer. So that could take a little bit of getting used to, because you need like some hand-eye coordination. Now, this is a really good choice if you're kind of like price sensitive. So if your budget is kind of what's helping you determine, what you're gonna buy. If it's really price sensitive, then I would say, okay, this is a good way to get started. However, if you have the money to kind of invest in something with a screen on it, I'm always going to encourage that. But with that said, I wouldn't want you, I think that this at the end of the day is still better than doing nothing and waiting until you can get the perfect tool. If this is going to delay you another, year or so, then I would say jump into one of these. These are still really good tablets. I actually started drawing and painting on one of these. It's very portable, very easy to set up. It's just what they call like plug and play. So it's usually just like one little cable that plugs right into your laptop or your computer, and then you're ready to go. And pretty much for the most part, whether you have a PC or Mac, it's typically the same kind of setup. Very, very easy install. So the next tablet that I want to share with you is a display tablet, which that one pretty much just means it's a tablet with a screen on it. It's very similar to like what you've seen with iPads and things like that. However, you want to keep in mind that with many of these tablets, you're still going to need a computer that you plug the tablet into. They do have some that come with like an operating system built into it, where you could watch movies, surf the internet, watch, browse social media, things like that. Me personally, as far as like drawing display tablets, I don't like them with an operating system built into it. I much rather be able to just plug them into a computer. That's just my personal preference. I haven't really had great experience with the display tablets that have an operating system built into it. But again, that was several years ago. They might have gotten better now, but I just don't have personal experience with those. And when I did use it, I really didn't like it. Now, these display tablets, these are going to be like pro level. These are going to be for people who really want to get into serious digital illustration and digital painting. Not to say that if you just want to do it as a hobby that you can't do that, but do keep in mind that these kinds of tablets that do have a screen on them, they are going to be on the pricier range. You could still get a pretty decent tablet with a screen on it around the $200 and something range, 100 and maybe high hundreds, but again, that's going to be relatively more expensive than a tablet without a screen. So these are the things that you just want to consider if you're price sensitive. And again, this is why I'm saying it's good to determine, are you doing this as a hobby or wanting to get into pro? Now, with these screen tablets, there are a lot of different brands out there. That's just going to kind of depend on what your budget looks like. I personally have always used WACOM or WACOM. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but just look it up, WACOM. I've always used that brand. I really like it, but it is going to be a slightly different price point usually compared to some of the competitors. Not to say that the competitors are any bad. I think I have used some competitor brands like the XP Pen, which is a pretty decent tablet as well. But if money is not an issue, then I would just say, again, just from personal experience, that Wacom is a really good brand to go with. They do come in a lot of different sizes, from smaller, like iPad size, or to a little bit larger. I don't know if you can see this. But yeah, they do come in different sizes. I've worked on everything from like a 13-inch tablet to a 15-inch tablet, a 22-inch tablet, and now I'm working on a 32-inch Cintiq, which is really big and a lot of fun to draw on. But I will say that all of them are fantastic. I loved my 13-inch Cintiq just as much as I enjoyed working on this 32-inch. What I would say is that you're not going to create better art because you're working on a bigger size, because that's another thing people ask, should I get a large one or a small one? There's pros and cons. There's something really cool about having a really big drawing tablet. If you're used to drawing big, like you draw on large pieces of paper, then drawing on a Cintiq, on a huge, 32-inch or even a 22-inch, it's going to be a lot of fun because you're going to have a lot of room to kind of move your arm around. And so if you like drawing that way versus drawing in tighter spaces, that's going to make a difference in your experience. But again, as far as like saying that you're going to be able to make better art because it's a bigger tablet, it really doesn't make a difference what size. It makes more of an impact on, again, how comfortable you feel drawing on a larger tablet versus a small one. So when it comes to that, I would say depending on what your budget allows, I think that's kind of like the way you decide on which one to choose. One thing to keep in mind though, again, it just depends on what what type of artist are you and what your workspace is going to be like. If you have a studio, like do you have a designated workspace in your house or in your home office? Do you have like a home office or anything like that? And also, do you like being stationary? Meaning like you work in the same place at home or wherever you're at? Or do you want to be able to take it with you? Because a huge 32-inch or even 22-inch tablet is just not very portable. So if you like the idea of going to like a coffee shop, or if you're the type of person that you want to go sit in your living room while you're drawing, hanging out with like your friend or family or whatever, while you sketch, then having a big 32-inch or 22-inch tablet is probably not going to be a good fit for you. Also, these large tablets are extremely heavy. I mean, I would say as far as the Wacom 32-inch, it's extremely heavy. It is very big, so it takes up most of my desk space. These are kinds of things that you want to consider. Do you want something that's going to hog up all of your desk space? Do you even have the room for it? So these are things that you want to consider because, again, just at first, these are questions that don't really come to mind. So these are just some of the things that I want you to kind of think about before you make your decision. Because again, and I can't stress this enough, if you like the idea of I'm going to go to the coffee shop and do some sketching today, it's not going to happen with one of these giant tablets. Which leads me to my last tablet, which is the iPad. So the iPad, and there are other tablets out there that are, obviously competitors to iPad, but iPad is what I've used, so that's what I'm going to talk about. This is going to be the option that allows you to sketch and draw and paint, but also watch movies, play games, browse social media, things like that. So you have the ability to install Procreate, and Procreate is an extremely powerful drawing application, drawing and painting. It comes with a lot of tools, a lot of brushes. You can work in layers similar to the way that you do in Photoshop. I don't think that the iPad, that there's Photoshop available on the iPad anymore. It might be, I don't know. I thought for some reason they might have taken it out. But to be honest, I would still, I exclusively draw using Procreate when I'm drawing on my iPad. And going back to the portability, if you like taking your work with you, if you travel a lot, if you like just moving around the house or going to the local coffee shop to draw, the iPad is an awesome option. You do have a lot of flexibility with it, and the drawing experience and the brush sensitivity, everything about it is just a really cool, enjoyable experience. Now, this is going to be on the pricier end, and again, it just depends on which model tablet, which size display tablet you're comparing it to, but I would say that this is definitely on the higher price. Now, I believe it also comes in some different sizes, so again, those kinds of things, it's going to be more having to do with how comfortable you are working on a slightly smaller screen versus a larger one. But one of the questions that I do get asked a lot is, but as a professional, or if I'm trying to become pro, is the iPad a good option? And I would say yes. At the end of the day, I personally still prefer a Cintiq or some sort of like a drawing display tablet similar to a Cintiq or an XP pen. But I do know a lot of pro illustrators who pretty much like almost exclusively work off of an iPad. You can get some really, really beautiful work done. You can do everything from like design type stuff like typography, like lettering, to character design, to concept art like backgrounds. You have a lot of really cool options with it. So if you want to do pro level, it's a good option. If you have the money for it, but you're more of like, hey, I'm just going to use this as a hobby, it's also a good option. Again, it's a higher price point, but the quality of work that you're able to pump out with an iPad is really, really nice. But in the end, the thing that I want you to remember is that this is just one opinion from a pro illustrator. In the end, ultimately, you're the one that has to decide which one is right for you. What I wanted to do was give you a couple different options, but also a couple reminders or things to keep in mind when you're trying to choose your tablet. These are like things that people don't think about, even something that I didn't really think about. So some of the things to remember, is this like for a hobby, or are you trying to go pro? Also, do you care more about like big drawing space, or do you prefer to be able to take your work with you, whether you're drawing somewhere else in your house or going to the coffee shop? And of course, the big elephant in the room, budget. Do you have the money for it? All of these things are going to help you kind of decide which tablet is right for you. But again, at the end of it all, I want you to remember that waiting and just putting it off until you have the perfect tool, I'm never going to suggest that. So if you're like, hey, Joel, like I can't afford to buy, a Cintiq or something like that now. So should I just wait until I can buy that to get started? I'm always going to say, start with the non-display tablet. Get your hands on anything that you could get your hands on, because the tool is important. It does help. I'm not saying that tools don't matter at all, but what's most important is your creativity and what you're gonna make with that tool. I have a video that actually talks about that, and you could check it out somewhere on the screen. You can click on it and check that out next. But I hope this video helped you. I hope it blessed you. I hope it helped clarify which option is best for you, and I will see you on the next one. Keep the fire alive, my friends.